I believe enterprise technology could be sold in India.
Enterprise technology is the backbone of any organization.
There are out of 1,000 companies that start, only probably 4 get to 10 million in revenue. So it's a 0.4% chance.
Oh, that's an impressive number. Ankur, you help organizations become productive. आपका individual productivity hack क्या है?
Great thing about GE was this 4E framework, which I still carry with myself. अगर आप अपना वर्क जोन ठीक से डिफाइन करो एंड यू स्पेंड फोकस टाइम वर्किंग इन दैट वर्क जोन, यू कैन गेट अ लॉट डन. True enterprise ACV, in my view, is after.
Hi guys, welcome to Game Room. My guest for today's episode is Ankur Dhingra. He's the CEO of ProHance. Ankur, thank you so much for coming in Game Room. It's a pleasure to have you here. Maybe let us start the conversation by understanding what is the problem that you're trying to solve with ProHance.
Thank you, Swati. It's my first podcast. I've never been on this format for that matter. ProHance is essentially a workplace analytics and productivity platform. So we really help enterprises get a lot more efficient with their human capital and with the digital investments they make. We are an enterprise SaaS company, software as a service company, that has grown in India but now has customers in 25 countries. And we are now close to like 400,000 users on the platform.
So, Ankur, would love to rewind a little bit, from your career standpoint as to how did it stand and how did it land, to ProHance?
Well, I've been working for a long time now. So once I finished my MBA, I ended up joining GE. That was in the year 1999. GE at that time was convinced about the potential of India in terms of talent, and they were setting up a large operating center here. That was also the time when the BPO industry was taking off in India. So I ended up joining GE in 99, spent 9 years with GE till 2008, did a variety of roles from operations to project management, spent some time outside, also got exposure to different kinds of customers, to the GE philosophy of working, which really shaped a big part of my thinking and how I operate. And after that, I got the opportunity to work at American Express, which was another iconic company. And it was at Amex that I came across this idea that led to ProHance, me joining ProHance and scaling that up. So, in my last role at American Express, I started leading their global back office operations. And when I got into that role, what I realized was there was very poor measurement in the back office world. So when I talk about back office for your viewers, it's essentially a lot of transaction processing, case management, data entry kind of work that happens in large institutions. And typically, if you think about operations, you think about the front end, which is a contact center, where you're having live people interaction and you're essentially either talking to customers or you're on chat or you're on some kind of responding to some social media feeds. And there's very good technology there available for you to measure what people do, where they're spending time, what is the productivity, what is the utilization, how do we ensure that those processes are optimized. But when you move on the back office side, that visibility was not there. And earlier, I used to work on the front end in the customer service side at American Express. And when I started working on the back office side, I clearly saw a gap in technology. I became very, now that I reflect back, irrationally obsessed about that whole problem, that why haven't people solved the back office side of the house? And that kind of led me to look for technologies that were solving the back office problem. There were clearly a lot of established players on the front end, and I went out to them and I spoke to them and I evaluated what they claim to be technologies for the back office. However, I did not like anything. Everything was very clunky, very expensive. So I said to myself, there's got to be a company in India, a startup in India, that is trying to solve the problem. Because, if you think about the back office, transaction processing, IT services, that is probably $150 billion industry. And this is a challenge which has existed for so many years. So then I started looking at companies in the Indian ecosystem. That's where I found a company in Bangalore, run by two very close friends of mine now, Rajesh and Kishore, um, which had built ProHance. And that's where I met them, and that's how the journey started.
Oh, you identified a problem and then you went to identify an organization, and
Yeah.
that's how you moved into that organization.
Yeah, so I identified a problem. I identified a problem that was always there. Sometimes the most obvious things are overlooked. And this was a very obvious problem that existed, um, which was around getting good measurements on the back office side. And yes, I did then try to find what is the best approach. So I was a very advanced user in this domain. So I clearly knew what the technology needed to do. So, like, I knew that the capture had to be automatic. I knew the technology should work across different operating systems. I knew the technology should be able to not only capture time on system but away from system. So, I had a very clear idea of what the technology should look like. And luckily, when I met Rajesh and Kishore at ProHance, they had built the base system that solved a lot of those problems.
So this is a very, very different approach, to find, a job or a next, gig for yourself. But was that the case for American Express also, or G to American Express just happened the way any other job
No,
movement,
GA to American
happens?
Express just happened the way a normal a job change would happen. This also, I was not really looking to move. But once so I used to manage a fairly large operation, 4,000 people. Once we deployed the technology and I saw the results and the power of the technology, I became a big fan. And also, the business American Express at that time was giving was a very big part of ProHance's overall business. So I used to also get a lot of attention, and they were very keen to hear my feedback on the product, what should get done, how should they develop it. So developed a good rapport with Kishore and Rajesh, and then I started introducing them to my ecosystem. Like because I was seeing so many advantages, I said, why not introduce them to other people? And they actually started winning business from my introductions. And then I reflected back and said that this seems too big an opportunity to let go of. I could clearly see a massive, what they call as TAM for this technology. So then one day, when I was, um, you know, parting ways with Amex, I said the best way to probably spend the next 4 5 years would be to actually see if we can scale up the company. So I went back to them, and then I said that I think you guys have a technology that can really scale up. And I joined the founding team, and then the three of us from that time, which is 2018, in the last 6 7 years, have significantly scaled up the business.
So what was the size of the business when you joined, and what is the size, now?
I mean, roughly, we were close to probably 500,000 in revenues, recurring revenues, and now we are probably 30 times that.
Oh, awesome. You have seen a very interesting scale up.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about a journey is, when we started out, I was clear on two, three things. One, the product was enterprise ready, right? It was working um, in American Express and a few other enterprise customers. So we said that we'll bootstrap the company. So we used to get a lot of advice that the minute you hit $1 million, you should look to diversify, get into the US. That's where 60 70% of the software gets sold. And also, you know, we got advised that, look, you need to raise venture. So, to really build out a software business, you will need a lot of capital, and for capital, you should talk to some venture capitalists. We actually did a contrarian thing than all the advice you were getting. One, we bootstrapped our business all the way till the time before Chris Capital took a majority position in us in December of 2023. So from 2018 to 2023, we bootstrapped our business. Also, we focus for the first leg of our journey very hard on India, because I believe that enterprise technology could be sold in India. It was about getting to the right people, and the rate at which the GCCs were growing, the BPO and the IT services firms were growing. Indian companies also needed good enterprise technology for productivity. So we just focused very hard on India, and that's how we grew the company.
What is it that you have learned in GE and American Express which you carried in ProHance, and what is it that you had to unlearn? Because see, when you join a company after a lot of years of experience, you also get wisdom, but you also get hang-ups that you need to give away for you to do justice to the new avatar.
Well, that's a great question. So G was I joined during the Welsh era. I had the opportunity to see him in a town hall, and then the melt came in 2001. I think the great thing about G was this 4E framework, which I still carry with myself, which is your personal energy, your ability to energize, your ability to execute, and having the edge to make tough decisions or taking calls and standing by those calls. So that 4E framework has worked very well for me, as I've done the journey. Also, I got the opportunity to be part of the quality revolution that happened in G Six Sigma, and the way you think about problems, the whole DMAIC, define, measure, analyze, improve, control, the whole quality methodology, that served well. Amex was probably at the pinnacle of customer service. So, how keeping customers front and center? How do you ensure that the voice of the customer always resonates within your operations, and is you're like laser focused on that? So Amex had a very targeted focus on like the net promoter score, or what they called as recommend to friend. So, having a very customer centric mindset was something that I took away from Amex. Um, when I started this journey, it was very different. I had been a reasonably senior executive for 17 years. So from there to let go a lot of things and start the ProHance journey. The first thing was that you need to really unlearn having a brand at your back for granted. So having worked with two of the most phenomenal brands, when you start your own brand, you really don't have that brand backing you. So a lot of things that seem very intuitive or obvious don't happen. So it's very important that you are able to reset, what you're going to expect when that happens. And I'd never done sales in my life. I was always operating guy. So I had to also learn sales, and also teach myself the SaaS domain, which is how do you sell software as a service. So I'm like immensely thankful to people like Jason Lemkin, and I'm sure a lot of people, and you should probably link him down. He runs a forum called Saster. So a lot of valuable knowledge. And on the enterprise tech side, in 2017-18, India was a little, it was still emerging. It was still early days, but there was obviously a lot of success in the US. So just listening to whatever was available on YouTube that time, with podcasts, etc., had not started. But just learning a lot of SaaS from there. I clearly knew the use case very well, right? So I was the largest customer. I knew the pain point very well. So that was easy. But yeah, those are the things we had to change. And when you're doing a startup, you have to ensure that, like I say, that you keep your ego really down and you keep your excellence up. So just getting used to the whole sales process, knowing that you get more rejection than acceptance, and just make, understanding how the funnel works and what effort is needed. So all those were good learnings.
तो आपने जो बोला, मतलब आई थिंक द वे यू सेड इट साउंड्स वेरी इजी, बट we do a lot of recruitment, and one concern which people have is that if someone has worked in a different function or a different industry for 15 to 17 years, the adaptation of that person itself in the new industry would be very difficult, and more often than not there are failure stories than success stories. And you have to keep your ego very less, in sales. It makes you see more failure when you're doing sales,
Right.
versus success. So see, when you would have not seen this journey in American Express and GE, because American Express also is a brand. When you go and sell American Express, you're also like selling a very premium brand. तो ये वाला learning आपने कैसे किया? And the reason I'm asking you is because if there is a playbook which is there, it could be really helpful for our audience itself, how to just unlearn and learn.
Yeah. No, I think it's a good point. I think so. If you look at, it's not true, but if you look at most of the entrepreneurs that come up, generally do it, either right after their education or during education, or getting late stage entrepreneurs is not that common. It's not that common. And typically, if you look at the risk in any venture, so I was reading a very interesting statistic that out of 1,000 companies that start, only probably four get to 10 million in revenue. So it's a 0.4% chance. And even in those four, it's not like everyone is bootstrapped or you might need a lot of capital to get there. It is an event which is, not in the main distribution, it is more towards the tail. See, the thing is, when you do something, the strength I had when I did it was I'd already worked. So I had some idea of how the corporate world worked. I knew how businesses were run. I personally was in a much more comfortable and secure space to take such a call. So typically, what happens is early on in your career is you have other competing priorities, financial, you might have some financial responsibilities or some other things. You're not able to do it. So for me, having worked for some time, I had gone past some of those issues. Secondly, I felt very deeply about the problem we were trying to solve. So no one was really pushing me to do this. I mean, I had done all kinds of operations for 15, 17 years. My American Express operation was a very complex operation I used to run, and I knew deeply like a good technology like this would help. So it happened very naturally, like serendipity. So I wasn't like looking out to say that I want to be a entrepreneur or I want to do this. But once I saw the opportunity, yes, I did react and say that, "Yeah, I'm going to do this." So I could have still said that maybe continue to work, do a job, but it was so compelling for me, and I could see it so clearly that this could become a big business. And that is also what helped us bootstrap the company, right? So we did not, we were able to sign up large companies, large deals, because typically in enterprise tech, as it's getting more properly understood, today also people, if they do what they call annual contract value, what's the ACV, right? So even if you have a $30,000 ACV, people say, "Oh, we are a enterprise firm." From global definitions and generally from industry yardstick, it's still a mid-market kind of a ACV. अगर आप $30,000 कर रहे हो, which is let's say 25 lakhs, 20 to 30 lakhs a year, it is mid-market. True enterprise ACV, in my view, is after $100,000. So if you have a single contract which is more than $100,000, 85 to 90 lakhs, then you are really getting into the territory of being enterprise. And closing those kind of deals, 100K plus deals, require a very different mindset. So one is that 100K deals don't happen by someone clicking software or using like what we call as a PLG, product led growth. Like you like a software, you click it, you use it, and then you buy it. These require what we call like proper sales teams. These require a proper, and we can get into that, what sales marketing, but proper demand generation. And the cycle time for sales is between 9 months to even up to 2 years. So हम लोगों ने enterprise में proper enterprise उसमें we've grown. The good part is it's hard to get in, but if you get in, the reward is very very high. So I call it like a factor of 3x. It takes 3 times more effort to win an enterprise client, but the outcome is 10 times more. So you have a 3x gain. So if you can understand and build a sales motion which can really sell to enterprises, that's how you're able to scale up without having to raise capital. So that's what we did. And it also requires certain years in the industry. It's not like somebody out of college cannot do it, but these are generally boring and dry topics. I don't know why you're doing a podcast with me, but our kind of technology requires you having spent certain years in, know the enterprise landscape to know how to sell it.
So, what would your advice be to these young founders who are trying to break through, the enterprise? There are very few software SaaS companies, firstly in India, who would have been able to break through the enterprise,
Yeah.
clients. तो अगर किसी को break करना है तो कैसे break कर सकते हैं?
There's some pretty big companies that have also started as PLG companies and have then become full enterprise. If you think of a company called Box, और आपने कंपनी का नाम सुना होगा Atlassian, which इनका platform है Jira. So one way to get into the enterprise world is to create what is a classic, like a freemium model, create a great software, get that software to be used by whatever is your user persona. And if the persona likes it so much, then if that really picks up, then you follow that up with a on the ground kind of a sales motion. So that is one way you can break into it. I mean, if you really think about enterprise technology, it's a little. I mean, if you simplistically think about it, there's a database side. Then on top of the database, and then you have core systems that get built, which are hard to get into, right? Somebody out of the gate can't build a core banking system or a core insurance system. तो वहाँ आप जा नहीं सकते. Then there is clearly the application side. तो वहाँ पे आप कुछ कर सकते हो. वहाँ पे you have 4 or 5 key persona. You might have a operations kind of people. उनका persona, IT का persona हो सकता है. आप कुछ HR में कर सकते हो. I mean, you have companies like Darwin Box doing something there. So you have to, the way to build anything is to find a niche and then be able to get into that crack and widen the crack. So we really found a niche on the productivity side, lack of high quality measurements in the back office productivity. So that was really a niche, and then we've kind of built out the a more what I call a compound product with a lot of adjacencies to make sure that we are solving that use case end to end, and also all the adjacencies. So yeah, so on my kind of, it's a little bit of chicken and egg. अगर आप youngster हो, आप enterprise SaaS ही करना चाहते हो, then if you haven't worked in it, then you cannot. I could see the niche because मैंने 17 साल काम किया था. Now somebody who hasn't worked in it, then it'll be very hard for them to find the niche. So that's one way to think about it. The other ways you can think about industries, like what's happening with logistics, what's happening with everything that's going to happen now with manufacturing, etc. अगर वहाँ पे you can find a niche, and do something. So like a lot of people say, you follow your passion. My advice is that you have to solve a problem that has not been solved in the world, and then you have to find parts in that journey which aligns to your passion. That is a more pragmatic way to do it, rather than just thinking कि मैं enterprise tech की company बनाऊंगा. It's hard.
So, what part of this journey aligns to your passion?
See, I was always very analytical, very numbers focused. I believe everything is a mix of science and art in some ways, but there are some problems where getting to the root cause of why something is happening can actually liberate you, it can give you the truth. And I was very passionate about that. So I think that was one thing this product aligns to. Like we say, we are obsessed with a empirical measurement. Like the measurement should be right. If you're trying to lose weight, then you should exactly know what is your BMI, what is like a
Hmm.
good athlete, what is your heart
Hmm.
rate, what do you weigh, what you're trying to do.
Hmm.
So I was passionate about that, and I was always passionate about working in enterprises. So this opportunity allows us to kind of work and service a lot of large companies, across the world. So we have now close to 60 enterprises with us.
Oh, that's an impressive number.
Yeah.
But Ankur, you help organizations become productive. आपका individual खुद का productivity hack क्या है?
My productivity hack is to make sure that I believe in compounding. I keep on improving my governance system structures on a daily basis. And I keep on optimizing for free time. So I like to spend time thinking, reading. I'm not in the camp of working 70, 80 hours, by the way.
Hmm. Hmm.
I truly value free time. I think time is the most precious commodity anyone has. And उसके लिए मैं continuously अपना जो the way I operate and run, I keep on improving it. So, for example, if I'm going for a customer meeting and we have to show them a demo, can I send them a recording of
Hmm.
the platform even before we do the meeting? So they've already, and I can make the recording so compelling in 180 seconds, which really gets them to be on the same page. So when you're having the meeting, it becomes a much more productive meeting. Similarly, now you have some great technologies to run your business. So we are very big users of all kinds of technologies and marketing automation or technologies we use for writing code. So we believe that as a SaaS company, we should also be using the best SaaS products in the world. So heavily using technology to run our business. That's the other thing we very focus on. And I generally don't do any meeting more than 30 minutes, like any one-to-one or short format meeting. A lot of things can get done in 10, 12 minutes of a good candid discussion if everyone is prepared. So that allows you to do a lot more things, in the day.
So do you think जो आप free time create करते हो, for
Hmm.
yourself, does that help you become, a better CEO?
See, I think it gives you a better sense of control. I think as a CEO, the most important thing is to be effectively able to lead yourself. So if you can't lead yourself,
Hmm.
then you can't lead a company.
Hmm.
And everyone can have their own definition for leading
Hmm.
themselves. So जो भी मेरी definition है for leading myself, उसमें एक component ये भी है कि मेरे पास free time होना चाहिए.
Hmm.
So it gives me a greater sense of control. If I'm scrambling, morning to evening meetings and I'm flustered, I can't sit back, enjoy a cup of
Hmm.
coffee, or if I read
Hmm.
something,
Hmm.
reflect and
Hmm.
think about it.
Hmm.
I don't think I like to operate like that.
Hmm. What are the other components, that you apply for being able to effectively lead yourself apart from having, free
Yeah.
time?
So एक मेरा थोड़ा health का रहता है कि you should be in
Hmm.
very good shape. I think every person, if you're leading a company, you should yourself be able to lead your health.
Hmm.
I think that's very, very
Hmm.
important. The other thing I try and do is I try and I try and communicate directly with employees. So I try and write every 15 days, or like last year I wrote 25 direct letters to my employees,
Hmm.
like without any, कहीं भी spelling mistake भी हो जाए कुछ हो जाए तो ठीक है,
Hmm.
no one edits it,
Hmm.
nothing. So I think if I'm not able to do that, if I'm not able to sit back and write to my employees, and I know I'm not leading myself well because I'm not getting the time or I'm not thinking. So it is just putting these specific markers in the sand ke ye karna hai. Then we try and meet like probably 20 customers a month. So अगर वो नहीं हो रहा, so then you know that you're not leading yourself effectively.
So, what is one of the biggest productivity myths that managers today have in the corporate, world? I'm digging a lot into productivity because I think that's a very very hot, topic
Yeah, I
in
know
the
it was not
corporate
a.
world.
See, I'll take a little bit of time because it's a little bit of a ideological debate also that happens. So when I started on this journey, way back in 2015. Lack of a bad measurement and relying on that measurement to get a false sense of everything is going well is the biggest challenge. Let me give an example. So we've obviously been in the business for a very long time. We've got close to 400,000 people on our platform. Um, and in our journey, we had that episode of COVID, right? So before that, everybody used to go into office. आप भी office जाते होगे, सब swipe in करते थे, सब swipe out करते थे, and काम करते थे. There was what I call a false sense of line of sight management. सबको लगता था, okay, if my teams come, everyone is busy, everyone is productive. अब COVID हो गया, and that line of sight, whatever was your false perception of everything is going well, it was no longer there, and that's where our technology became more relevant. It was also relevant when everyone was in office. Now the biggest challenge is people are not able to identify what is my true work zone. So you will have recruiters, and I'm sure then you have all kinds of other people, but a recruiter profile ही लेते हैं. So if you have recruiters, what is their core job? If their core job is to understand a job spec, then research on web to identify a long list, then discuss it with the manager, create a short list, reach out. You have a certain job. And that job needs to be done mostly on machines. Today you're working all on machines, right? You need certain kind of applications. Now, if your recruiter spends time on things that really don't matter to the job, but he's perceived busy. So, like for example, let's say if he's in some accounting software, or if he's doing something on Facebook, or if he's on some application which doesn't matter. So people are not able to work in the core work zone in a focused way, and that is why I said this whole 70-hour debate I don't agree with, because अगर आप अपना work zone ठीक से define करो, you define your work zone well, and you spend focused time working in that work zone, you can get a lot done. So जैसे आजकल developers हैं, we also have this benchmarking data. We have like 100,000 users who do all kind of coding on our platform. Not like we measure people who do coding. They don't do coding on the platform. So we have the statistics. You will not believe it. In the developers today, they don't spend more than 3.5, 4 hours actually in the coding environment. टीम मीटिंग हो रही है, एक्सेल पे है, आउटलुक पे है, पर जिनका कोडिंग एनवायरनमेंट है, अगर आप एक्लिप्स पे हो, या अगर आपको गिटहब पे रहना है, या आपका जो भी है, that is very very low, and that's just an example. So the biggest myth in corporate productivity today is if I'm logged in, I'm working, which is not the real the real truth. The real truth is you're logged in. Within that, where do you spend your time? एंड इज दैट अ पार्ट ऑफ योर को वर्क जोन? अगर हम पूरी एंटरप्राइजेस में सिर्फ ये फिलोसॉफिकली चेंज कर सकें कि बिकॉज एट द एंड ऑफ द डे व्हाट आर वी डूइंग, वी आर हेल्पिंग एंटरप्राइजेस गेट फुल वैल्यू फॉर द प्रोफेशनल टाइम. See, time is the only common measurement on how you can understand effort, how do you reward people, how companies run. पर इसमें बहुत ज़्यादा opaqueness है, and there is I mean, a lot can happen to uh, provide like blinding clarity on this topic. So मेरे को ये लगता है कि like US में गया, so I met a friend of mine. So अपना बैच लेके आया हुआ था, अपनी वाइफ का बैच. So I asked him, why have you got this badge, टेबल पे रखा हम कॉफी. कहते no, I'll just go, I'll just check her in. तो दिस इज बेसिकली लाइक, तो मैंने कहा यार चेक आउट, सो यू जस्ट स्वाइप. कहते नो, शी हैज टू कम 3 days a week. तो एक बार चेक इन कर दिया, कोई चेकआउट का है ही नहीं सिस्टम. सो इवन द कंपनी इज स्केयर्ड टू लुक एट चेक इन एंड चेकआउट डेटा, पता लगेगा कि कोई आ ही नहीं रहा. सो ऐसे ही वहां पे होते हैं कॉफी चेक इन्स, कि आपको कंपनी में बोला हुआ है आपने 3 दिन आना है, तो आपने आगे कॉफी चेक इन कर ली. So the idea is that if you have a good measurement, then how does it matter आप आ रहे हो या आप घर से काम कर रहे हो, as long as the work is getting done. And that is our that is what ProHance is trying to do. And our view is to make enterprises a lot more efficient, right? So a lot more efficient. Now, enterprise efficiency is a very complicated topic. You can do what we call robotic process automation, you can do process discovery, you can do re-engineering, and to add to the confusion, now you have Gen AI, where everyone is saying AI will drive efficiency. But if you deeply think about it, and I'm talking more service oriented, like people oriented operations, the net effect of that is really in your people being able to do a lot more, right? When even if you do Gen AI tool, you say, okay, a coder can code more because now he's using some Gen AI technology. What our technology is doing is it's actually telling you what people are doing directly. So you don't, all those technologies are important, but if you don't have the measurement, that you really don't know has the needle moved or not moved. So it's been a philosophical change also in the market, where, like I said, I have to walk people across the bridge of our ideology of productivity. Because कई बार लोग agree नहीं करते, कहते हैं यार it's not, it's too intrusive, it's monitoring, we don't believe in this. But once we have a full discussion with them and tell them what we're doing, you're any day better off knowing all your body's vital statistics to know how healthy you will be or how will you be able to perform, rather than not knowing it. And I see that change happening. So I see that change happening, especially with flexibility now being given to people. A lot of people can also work, right? They can work from anywhere. So it gives them the flexibility, it gives them the confidence, it gives the managers the confidence that work is happening, rather than people second guessing what's going on.
Do you think that ProHance would be far more efficient than any other organization, because you guys anyway solve this efficiency problem for other organizations?
Yeah.
So,
So we drink our own Kool-Aid. So when you say, see, the idea is to drive sustainable productivity. So like I said, I'm not in the camp. I'm not in the 70-hour camp. I'm in the 40-hour camp, but 40-hour work well. So work in your work zone, and then you should be able to demonstrate that the 40 hours you spent, you really delivered a high quality, or you delivered what was expected from you. So ProHance is reasonably productive. Like if you look at benchmarks of revenue per FT, cost per FT, for our size and scale, we'll be in the top quartile. We'll be in the top quartile. And we were profitable, so we were bootstrapped. So only because you're productive, you're bootstrapped, and that's how we managed to grow the company.
what is one harsh truth that probably a CEO would know after so many years in corporate life, which a fresher doesn't, know?
Always aspiring to be a CEO might not be the right ambition for everyone. And I also believe that a lot of things in life are a combination of what you do and what happens. So, good luck, bad luck, changes, serendipity, like I say. So, you should let serendipity strike, You shouldn't, I think the focus should be on learning and strengthening yourself, and then you will be able to adapt as changes happen. Yeah, and so I mean, if you would have asked me maybe in 2017, would I have been here? Maybe I would not have been doing this, but you know, as things happen, you just adapt and move on.
So, who should not think of becoming a, CEO? Like, what does it take away from your life, and what does it give to your life?
See, I think it's more than the CEO thing. It's about how you, like I say, everybody should. One of my favorite quotes: "Everyone should be the CEO of the job or CEO of their function." So you should act as if you deeply want to take care of it and take responsibility, and you get the full authority as long as you also do it responsibly. So for me, the CEO is more like a mindset of how you do your work. I think from day one, everyone should work like a CEO. But essentially, what happens with the CEO is the buck stops with him, right? In some ways, that your CEO cannot say, "Oh, I didn't know that was happening," or "I didn't know this was happening." So I think it's a good way to work if you think about CEO as a the buck stops with me. So, and that will hold you well. Now, if you don't want to do that, if you don't want to work in a highly accountable setup, uh, then you should also not, in my view, try entrepreneurship. And CEOs can be of different size. I'm a CEO of a reasonably young, small company, but then you have CEOs who are managing billions of dollars. So the CEO definition can be pretty vast. But one thing I can say is if you're not willing to take responsibility for your actions, then you're probably better off working in some structured setup.
What next for ProHands? What is the vision that you have for the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah. So, like I said, in 2023, Chris Capital made a significant investment in ProHance. They are the majority owners of ProHance. I mean, I feel incredibly lucky that we got an opportunity to partner with them. So, our idea now is to just put our head down and grow the business. Um, Not that concerned about what kind of outcome will emerge, but some outcome will emerge, which can be, one of the three in my view. You could get sold to another private equity firm, you could potentially get acquired by a bigger software firm, or you could list. So all options are open on the table. Not that concerned about what option we'll take. I think if you build a capable company, if you build a high performing company, then chances are you have more options for yourself. So that's really the focus. So we're just like we've always done, profitably grow our business at a at a steady but aggressive pace.
So how many people do you manage directly?
Around 12.
And what would be the entire strength of people folding under you?
Close to 190.
What is your leadership style?
So I think a leader should have the ability to operate at all altitudes. So like I say, at 30,000 feet, look at the future, where we are going, set the direction of the company, then a mid altitude, and then really also operate very close to the ground. Uh, I think that's very important when you're scaling up a company. So if you're doing a detailed marketing review, you should be able to get into weekly conversions, best performing SDRs, and get into that level of detail, be very close to metrics, but at the same time also be able to talk to the board about, strategy direction. So for me, one thing is that I need to make sure that I'm not only playing T20, but I'm also playing test cricket, playing one day cricket, and stay good at it, and be able to style flex. So your ability to style flex depending on situation and adapt is very, very critical, especially when you're doing a startup. Like we were having very different conversations when we were 500,000, right? Now we have very different conversations. So that's very, very important. Also, I learned this in Amex, which is a great phrase. A leader should always see reality and give hope. What I mean by that is a leader should be able to say exactly the way it is right now, without sugarcoating. So if you're going to lose a client, if there's going to be impact on revenue, it is a job of the leader to make everyone aware that, this is going to happen to us. But at the same time, also say that in the past, also we've had a situation, we've been able to get out of it. I'm sure we can get this done. So being being very, very honest and truthful about what you see in front of you, and getting the teams also to be able to see it. Sometimes it's hard to look at yourself in the mirror if a quarter is looking ugly. No one wants to really talk about it, or but I think it's very important that we do that. A very honest postmortem. So I believe in doing that quite a bit, to being very, like showing the reality, but also giving hope. I think it's a very important part of a leader. And then also, I think in our kind of leaderships, in our kind of companies, you only get respect if you lead from front. So, frankly, if you distill everything in a product company, either you code or you sell.
Hmm.
Most roles, some roles
Hmm.
directly. So you have to be good at one of the two.
Hmm.
Either you're able to code well or you're able to sell well.
If someone has to become a good leader or a good manager, how can that person really walk that journey? Is that a skill which can be acquired?
See, I think this good is a very subjective thing. So in any company, there are three key constituents. There are the shareholders. आपका VC है, PE है,
Hmm.
आपके जो भी
Hmm.
shareholders हैं. आपके customers और आपके employees. See, these three are, and they are all kind of management literature. Happy employees leads to happy customer, leads to shareholder gains. Focus on shareholder gains allows you to hire the right employees, which keeps you happy. So you can spin the story. If you're a lawyer, you can talk from any side and say this is the most important thing. But the key point is that you, as a leader, have to maintain a balanced scorecard between the shareholder, the employee, and the customer. And then there's a time axis. Uh, so when you start any role, it is important for you to work with the end in mind. So when we started in 2018, we had an end in mind that we want to get to like maybe 7 million, 10 million in 5 years' time. And it might change, but you should be able to very vividly paint what is the end in mind and then work backwards and say, okay, to reach that end, what are the steps I need to make? Now, I think that is also very true for all careers and all managers. If you're a first time manager, so you should work with the end in mind. Okay, now I'm leading these three, four people. Okay, I will learn everything about people management. I will learn how to do a great one on one. I will make sure I'm able to give people very specific inputs which are actionable. तो आप अपने लिए एक end in mind बना सकते हो. And if you do that, you will see you're progressing. And now, like I say, that you need to just have a learning. See, curiosity and learning mindset is very important. Everything is available online. If you type out anything, I'm a first time manager, how can I be a better manager, how can I inspire my people, आपको आजकल किसी से पूछने की जरूरत नहीं है. You can actually, so you can completely be self taught, like you can learn everything if you have the hunger, curiosity to learn. So my advice to everyone will be, don't worry about this bashing. It doesn't mean anything. Every job is separate, everything is unique. If you really want to make a difference, think of an end in mind and work it backwards. And I also try the concept of paddle strokes. Like in the company, we try and do 5 year sprints. So what I want to do in the next 5 year, what I want to do in the next, and then break it up into yearly sprints and quarterly sprints. So even for a career, you can think, okay, I'm going to do this role. Everything goes well for 2 years. That's 8 quarters. What do I want to learn every quarter? So people who think like that analytically end up, kind of cutting out the noise and focusing on the signal.
So thank you so much, Ankur. I think I am done with my questions. I have personally learned a lot of things,
Yeah,
and
no, it was
and
fun.
will take it away. When I am on my job.
Sure,
Any
sure.
last message that you have for the audience?
No, no, thank you for having me over and all the best with your venture.
Thank you so much.